Hello, and welcome to the Gaia update for the Taurus New Moon that happens on April 22nd, 23rd, 2020. I'm Adrienne Elise. This is a very powerful new moon as we step over the threshold into a new age happening on Earth Day. It's making this new moon about stepping over into new Earth, a new paradigm, and new Earth Day. So this new moon happens at 3 degrees 24 minutes of Taurus, not too far away from Uranus, who will be at 6 degrees Taurus. Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius in Taurus, is speaking to new frequency vibrations, infusing the earth, bringing the changes that we need in order to move into the age of Aquarius and move into this new paradigm. So just after this new moon, the sun will go directly over Uranus. Now, just before this new moon, the sun will be in a square with Saturn. Saturn at 1 degree Aquarius, sinking its toes into the energies of this new age. Saturn, the planet of Chronos, time, reality, the structures of our world. The first one of these major players of the 2020 astrology making its way over into the energy of Aquarius, only making it to 1 degree this year, but very powerful because it's like the structures of our reality kind of into this new energy and representing time. We're in a very strange situation with time right now, where we're being asked to completely adjust our relationship to time, and representative of this shift into this new age, new paradigm, into fifth dimensional energies. So very potent. Of course, the moon moves very quickly on a new moon. The sun and moon are together. So the moon, just before this new moon, squaring Saturn and then conjuncting Uranus. The sun, just a couple days before this new moon, squaring Saturn, and a couple days after, the exact conjunction with Uranus. So here we are, sandwiched between these energies. The sun and the moon in square to Saturn in Aquarius, the tension. The sun is who we think we are, our identity, what we want to express. The moon, our emotions. And so here we have these personal energies very much coming into play of like, how do we do this? How do we move over into this new age? And indeed, the energies of this new moon in Taurus are all about this story. So squaring up with Saturn, the tension of what needs to shift in our perception of who we are, our identity, and our emotional state in order to tip the scales into this new age, into this new energy. And then that conjunction with Uranus. Now, Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, represents a disruption energy. It represents new frequency vibrations. It's called the awakener. And so in Taurus, it's about awakening our physical reality, our earth, our physical structures, our body. Is that what's trying to happen right now in this current world situation? Taurus represents our wealth, our money, our resources, our inner resources, our outer resources, what we have and what we need. So that's really interesting because Uranus, representing these higher frequency vibrations, is speaking to the changes in our structures of wealth. Within, this is our self-worth. Venus being a ruler of Taurus, we're talking about our self-worth for our worth, our self-worth for our resources. Do we deserve? Now, this is part of the paradigm of the old paradigm of the financial structures that are starting to fall apart here. Our wealth based on what we sacrifice and how hard we work. And the new paradigm of wealth is based on who we are and our inner gifts and skills. It brings to mind this new moon in Taurus on Earth Day, new Earth Day, as we step over this threshold into this new paradigm. The concept in the Ubuntu movement, it started by Michael Tellinger in South Africa. The idea of the Ubuntu movement is about one small town at a time, moving into this new paradigm. And the new paradigm is this: the wealth of the culture is based on service and about each person pursuing their creative gifts as a way to give back to the culture. That our true wealth actually lies in the inner gifts, the soul spiritual gifts, the talents and skills. And really, if you think about it, the stacking up of wealth and physical paper money and the accumulation of items, we don't get to take that with us. But what we do get to take with us is the talents and skills that we've developed as we move through our incarnations and our lifetimes. And what would our world look like if that was what we valued in this world? Because this is the wealth we've grown over generations and lifetimes and evolutionary patterns. Whereas the physical wealth really doesn't have that much actual value in the spiritual world. This is this Uranus crashing home into the earth, this higher frequency vibration, trying to bring us over into a whole new reality. And so Uranus and Taurus does speak to an energy of an awakening, a disruption, a revolution in the structures of finances in our world. So are we heading into a financial reset that might better reflect the truth of who we are and support humanity as we move into this new age? We're definitely being asked to receive an upgrade in our self-worth. And so that's for these souls. What's on the table is, do you deserve this new energy? These higher frequency vibrations, are you good enough? Which is silly, right? Because it's who we are. It's why we came here. It's our destiny, our purpose. And yet so many of these souls have been beaten down through past lives and with very low self-worth. And this is the one thing that's keeping these souls from stepping over into that new age and these new energies is it okay? Do you deserve it? Or should you deserve to stay in the pain of the past? Or can you allow yourself to move beyond those old stories? So that's what's coming up for everyone with us, for this, all these souls, and for the collective as this new moon, this new Earth Day happens. Do we have permission to vibrate at a higher frequency? Do we have permission to take back control of our world and to take back our energetic power? So this brings me to Pluto. Now, Pluto for this new moon, very powerful. It's going to be at 25 degrees. That's a very new territory. It hasn't made it yet to 25 degrees, and it's only there for a day or so before it turns retrograde. So it turns retrograde just a couple of days after this new moon, pretty much the next day. So very intense as we are Pluto, representing death, rebirth, the breakdown, the rebuild in the structures of our world in Capricorn, the authoritarian structures, the structures of our society, the structures of our finances, the structures of our reality being broken down, the fabric of our reality. But we have to kind of keep our attention on the rebuild. And that's what Uranus and Taurus is talking about. It's about, this isn't just the breakdown, just to break down. It's because we're building something new and better. And what we'll be replacing, this is kind of where humanity's been at. And what's coming forward in the collective consciousness right now is clinging to the old, because that's all we know. It's to the sinking ship of these old structures. And it's like, sure, give me the control, give me the fear. I'll take that, just save me from this. I'll give my power over, just save me from this, right? And important energy here that we cannot receive the new until we're willing to make that leap and let go of the old. And so this is kind of what Pluto's speaking to as it inches over into 25 degrees, just as it's taking this retrograde. Now, it turns direct on October 6th. So that is the time frame of what we're working with here. Pluto retrograde, going back into that conjunction, Jupiter taking a retrograde and then going back into that conjunction again in July. And then they come back together for the third time in November. Kind of the whole story of this 2020 journey, and a culmination with a very powerful total solar eclipse in December, when Saturn and Jupiter together move over into Aquarius, ushering us into this new age. And this is exactly the energy of this new moon. What do we need to do to get there? And so now the other thing that's happening is that, we've got that Pluto inching to 25, but turning retrograde 1 foot forward, 2 steps back. This is kind of this weird place we've been in. How do we let go of the old in order to bring in the new? And that strange, uncomfortable place in the birth canal in between these realities. But Neptune moves over to 20 degrees on the day of this new moon. And that's a huge energy. Neptune moves so slow, moving in the sign in home in Pisces, speaking to the delusions and where we're stuck in the beliefs, delusions, the distortions of the Piscean age, the distortions of the past. Moving to the 20s into 20 degrees is speaking of this 2020 energy, clear vision, seeing through the delusions. So this new moon in Taurus, new Earth day, our new Earth, our new paradigm has a lot to do with truth, with waking up to the lies that we've been told about our true history, to the lies that we've been told about our place in the galactic world, the wider truth of all the different life forms, beings out there, and just the technology that's available. This is a lot about Uranus and Taurus too. Uranus represents higher frequency energies, technologies, and there's all this technology, alien technology in our cell phone, alien technology, base technology being used against us right now to control us, to control our mind, to try to control our thoughts and our consciousness, right? And this is the race that we're in, to wake up out of those delusions and to take our energetic frequency power back, a war in our consciousness. So Neptune moving to 20 is like, whoo, can we come out of these lies and delusions that have kept our evolution back? Now, this is an interesting energy on New Earth Day, because we talk about the Earth. This is the energy of Earth Day is kind of like, oh, we want to take care of our Earth, or we want to stop the things that are hurting our Earth and the toxic things and clean up our planet, right? And that's everything to do with these new technologies that are actually old technologies, but relatively, but we haven't been told about them. These technologies have the solutions to all of the problems on our planet. And part of the pain of this world and the delusions and keeping humanity disempowered and in pain, it's like, oh, you have to go put fossil fuels in your car. That's the only way you're going to get around. If you want to survive here, you got to be a part of the problem. If you want to live in this world, you've got to use plastic. That's your only solution. And then the guilt and the shame, when really the pollution and the problems of this earth have been from corporate. But how did that get turned around for the everyday human to just live in constant guilt over what they're doing to the planet, to the point where you just have to shut it down and deny it. Right? The good news is that all that's happened on the earth and the surface of the earth is on the surface of the earth. And when you really tap into Mother Earth Gaia and her vibrational frequency right now, which will be a big part of the activation for this new moon, this new Earth Day, Mama, she's good. She's going to make it through all of it, right? And maybe us cleaning up our guilt and moving into these new technologies and these new frequency vibrations is really the solution that we're looking for. And that she is powerful, potent, and activating right now. She's our spaceship. She's moving us into this new paradigm. And so we got to keep connected to her. But that guilt and shame over our mistreatment of the earth, which isn't even the individual human's fault, because there are these technologies that have been kept from us, that energy keeps us from connecting to this mother. Now, this is interesting because the North Node will be at 0 degrees Cancer for this new moon, speaking to the end of this chapter of the North Node in Cancer, because it moves backwards, right? It's going to move into the sign of Gemini. And so on May 6th, though, here we are at the very end of the North Node in Cancer. And did we get the message? Huge energy of this Taurus new moon. Can we come back to the Great Mother? Can we come back into receiving the love and the connection to our planet? We've been told a bunch of lies that spiritual awakening, spiritual ascension, these new higher frequency vibrations are going to hurt the earth. The earth has to have a catastrophe, or the earth has to break, or our physical bodies can't make this transition. But that's actually the whole plan of the game. We together with the earth, changing our bodies, our physical bodies into light, changing the earth into light, bringing those, Uranus, infusing the physical form with the light of the cosmos. That's what we're doing here. And so that requires coming back into feeling nurtured and to a nurturing relationship to the mother energy, to the earth, to the Great Mother, receiving, feeling held and loved in our experience. This is the new age. And so that's really powerful. The new moon, the North Node will still be in an inconjunct to Saturn at 1 degree Aquarius. And that energy's been going on, and it's about an adjustment that needs to be made. The adjustment that needs to be made to Saturn, build the new world and the energies of Aquarius, is nurturing and coming back into a relationship with nurturing, receiving, being loved and held and connected back to the Great Mother, energy source of all of the universe, represented by our beautiful Mother Earth Goddess Gaia in physical form. And when you get out of the craziness of the world right now, and the hysteria and the panic and the confusion, and you tap into the earth, energy of the earth, even though she's in a high frequency state, right? She's like, woo, Schumann energy's off the charts, right? Resonance. But you really tap into her. She's like, yeah, it's good. It's peaceful. She's kind of in this place of this new relationship to time, and this is the medicine right now. You really connect into the earth, feel yourself in permission, because as we go to higher frequency vibrations, we typically kind of jump off of the earth, lose our root chakra connection, kind of that feeling like, oh, it's not safe on the earth, right? With these higher vibes. And it's like, no, that's the whole point of this thing that we're doing. And to tap into the earth and feel her peace right now, where she's at in her journey, and how beautiful this experience is, and kind of tapping into that energy. That'll be a huge energy of this new moon activation. So we are looking at this now. It brings to mind this recent Sun conjunct Eris, dwarf planet. It's the 10th planet, discovered in 2005, that got Pluto demoted, right? And Eris is the female version of Mars. It's this female goddess warrior. Now, it's interesting that she's a goddess warrior, but she's exalted in the sign of Cancer. So it's so interesting because she's such a player with this big energy of, in Eris, she's been in square. She was at 23 degrees. She's an exact square. She's been in a square. She was in square to Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn in January, and then Jupiter and Pluto at 24. She's right in between those degrees. And yet we don't really feel her until the personal planets come into relationships. So just the week before this new moon, the sun comes over Eris and at the same time squares up with Pluto and then Jupiter. And a very powerful energy for us here, that tapping into this warrior self, the power of the mama bear, the power of the peaceful warrior that's pushed to the edge and then has to fight for survival of her tribe. So this also, Eris has an energy of disruption similar to Uranus. It's got an erratic elliptical orbit that doesn't fit the plan, right? And it's about rebuilding. It's about the rebuild. And the rebuild happens when we stand up for life itself and we take back our life force and we're willing to fight. And that's what we're being asked to do in this current world situation, is be that mama bear, be that warrior that's willing to stand up for what's right and good and true and protect creation. And the picture is the shield. The shield is like a boomerang. It's like reflecting back all the weapons of the darkness and the evil that's come at humanity, this dark agenda, it's like at this point in time trying to literally take our life force, our oxygen, to take our rights, our God-given rights of freedom, and bringing us into this lower technological matrix. And so Mama Bear and our energy of connecting to the earth and having that shield that takes all the energy being thrown at us right now, all the attack of the darkness, and reflecting it back like a boomerang, and the ultimate weapon of love and compassion. So that's a really potent energy for this new moon in Taurus. Now, right after this new moon, Mercury comes into a square with Pluto and then Jupiter. And we'll start feeling this right at this new moon. And this is kind of leading us through this last part of April. And Mercury in Eris, kind of bringing the fire, bringing the fight, bringing the square to Pluto, representing the chains of authority, the systems, right? So this is an important message for us, because it's like Mercury's our conceptual reality, our thoughts and beliefs, and what needs to change there with this square tension to Pluto, Jupiter. What needs to square there what needs to shift there in order for us to move over into this new paradigm? And that is breaking the chains of our mental slavery, right? Emancipation. Freeing ourselves from the mind control, from the propaganda, from all of the lies we've been told, and coming into our truth, our human truth, our spiritual truth. And this is kind of the deal that we're at here. It's like, if we're going to move into this new paradigm, this new age, this Aquarian age, it's like this, the financial structures that steal our money and lie to us and use it for nefarious, dark, bioweapon programs, that's not going to work in the new age. An education system that dumbs us down, that's not going to work in the new age. And how about a healthcare system that makes us sicker? It's all got to go. So it's an interesting energy right now, as that in the Mercury kind of like kind of going back to that Neptune moving to 20 degrees, waking up to the delusions. And after that, Mercury spending so much time in Pisces in that recent retrograde, and kind of going over to Aquarius, back to Pisces. How do we do this? Now in this square to Pluto, it's like we've got to free our mind. Think for ourselves. We cannot move forward as sheeple. That's the death of us. That's the depopulation. That's the matrix of control sucking our soul in order to make us into microchipped, controllable robots, right? I mean, we are seriously right there. And it's time for Mama Bear, Mother Earth, and her people, and the love of this world to come back and be victorious in the light. And so this is a really powerful energy of this new moon in Taurus on New Earth Day. It's time to step over into the new paradigm, and we're going to do that together. So I hope you can join me for this Taurus New Moon activation. It's going to be just an hour and a half or so before the exact time of this new moon. And so if you can't make it in your time zone, go ahead, catch the replay. It will be encoded. We're working outside of time with these things. And so the energy is there for you with your intention to join, your questions answered, and getting these activations, this reset, this reconnection to the earth, and maybe breaking some authority contracts where we've given our power away. So that's on April 22nd. Wednesday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That will be 6 p.m. on the West Coast and 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And so I hope you'll consider joining that live activation. The information to sign up is in the information box below the video. So I look forward to seeing you there or on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.